Hello guys and welcome back to the TheRS Weekly Podcast with me Rhys and
me Sam.
Now before we go anywhere guys, I just want to kind of explain, if it sounds like Sam sat in another room, it's because we're keeping the government guidelines and we're keeping 2 metres apart, so if it sounds like he's trying to shout at you, we apologise. This podcast is going to be covering the midweek games from the Bundesliga and looking forward to the weekend's games, which we're predicting the scores. And we're currently in a little mini league, aren't we, Sam, where we're tallying up the points and so on. I think you got a point last night. I've got a big fat zilch.
Yeah, we'll get on to them.
Yeah, we'll get on to them later, guys.
But yeah, I'm currently 1-0 up out of 4.
Yeah.
We have got 2 other people in it as well, Jack and Ben.
Yeah, we've got 2 of our mates from Sheffield. They're joining in our little mini league. To be fair, I think it's something we can do going forward. We can actually get like a proper league where we put like certain cash prizes in, and yeah, we're looking at that anyway, which is a thought for another podcast. But basically, guys, we're going to get straight into it. The first game, or the first midweek game, was the 5:30 kickoff. We spoke about this on the last podcast. Borussia Dortmund versus Bayern Munich. Yeah, we'll get straight into it.
Do we have to?
The game started off at a really fast pace, and especially from Dortmund. They actually created a chance in the first minute, and to be honest with you, throughout the first few minutes, both sides can count themselves unlucky not to have scored, really. I think the most notable chance went to Dortmund first, falling to Erling Haaland, who actually rounded Manuel Neuer and then tried to side foot the ball into the net, but Jerome Boateng was waiting on the line. I mean, to be honest with you, though, Bayern had quite a good few chances as well in the first half. Serge Gnabry got his effort cleared off the line by Lucas Piszczek, obviously after the Erling Haaland chance. In terms of possession, the game was fairly even, I thought. I'd be interested to see what you think, but I thought the first half was fairly even in terms of possession and chances created.
Yeah, I think Dortmund looked really good going forward in the first 5-10 minutes, especially with Guerrero and Hakimi and Hazard. But yeah, I think my standout player in that first half was Delaney, and going into the second half, I don't understand why he got brought off, because I thought he was outstanding.
We said straight away, didn't we? Because I FaceTime you at half time. And I said to you, I cannot understand why they took Thomas Delaney off. I thought he was having a storming game.
He did, mate.
He looked very strong, and he looked like the kind of player that Dortmund needed in the centre of the pitch, especially if you ain't got Witsel there. You haven't got that big, strong, imposing central midfielder that you need.
I mean, I think Hummels come off as well at half-time as well.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he did, didn't he? That was a bit of a blow, I think.
He brought Hummels off the last game as well, which I don't know if Hummels is 100% fit yet.
Maybe not, I'm not sure. I'd be interested to read into that a little bit, because I think them 2 changes completely changed the complex of the game, like the way it was going. I thought that Thomas Delaney was really holding his own against, because that Bayern midfield, I mean, that was without Thiago. Do you know what I mean? That maestro in midfield who can play a pass through the eye of a needle. I mean, they had Kimmich and Goretzka in there, which is a tough pair to play against. Kimmich's got a great footballing brain.
I think another good player was Piszczek. I thought he was outstanding.
Do you know what? We said, didn't we? Lucas Piszczek, for his age and the servant he's been for Borussia Dortmund over the years, what a first half he had. I thought he was outstanding. He put some brilliant challenges in.
Yeah, he did. Put some outstanding challenges, especially that one on Lewandowski. We just come in from the side and
just kind of sweep the ball away, didn't he? I thought because Lewandowski, he don't get enough credit, I don't think. He's actually quite quick across the ground. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. It's because, I mean, you look at the other players, he's got the other side of him, he's got Gnabry one side and Coman the other. I mean, they're just flyers, aren't they? But
I mean, in the second half as well, I think it was Alphonso Davies put an outstanding tackle in, and the referee gave a free kick, and he booked him.
I couldn't
believe how he did that. It was a great tackle. He won the ball clear as daylight.
Honestly, I watched like a little montage of Davies, because I actually saw him when he played in the MLS for Vancouver Whitecaps. And bearing in mind, at this moment, he was only 17, and I thought, this kid's got talent. Like,
so quick as
well. Because he actually started on a right midfield position for Vancouver. And I know it's the MLS, think of that what you want, but I mean, the guy he had so much talent, and when he went to Bayern Munich, I thought, they mean business here. I thought that they see something in this lad. And did you see the thing about Thomas Muller?
Yeah, I was about to
when he was like, me.
the little bite.
I was howling.
The little bite, me.
Yeah, his recovery pace is up there with some of the best I've seen. He's like on a par with Bellerin for me, like in his recovery pace. But anyway, just quickly, before we move on to the second half and kind of the action, I mean, if you look at the possession stats, Bayern having 52% of the ball in the first half to Dortmund's 48%. Now, I actually thought Dortmund had more of the ball, but I think it was more the last 10-15 minutes Bayern kind of took a hold of the game. Eventually leading to a goal for Joshua Kimmich.
What's your opinion on the...
Well, the keeper needs to do better. I knew what you was going to ask me straight away. I think Berkey's got to do better there. Look, I understand, right? I'm not a goalkeeper, yeah? So I'm not going to pretend that I'm this top-class goalkeeper that knows what he's doing. I just think if you're backpedaling like that, your first instinct should be to try and parry it away or knock it over the bar. You can't try claw the ball out because... I mean, Lewandowski, to be fair, I think Lewandowski, if Berkey would have clawed the ball out, I think Lewandowski would have got there and scored a tap-in, essentially. But I just think Berkey's got to do better there. I mean, Berkey actually looked fairly decent on Tuesday night. I thought his shot stopping was decent. He looked fairly good with command in his area. Don't get me wrong, Kimmich is I genuinely believe he's a world-class footballer.
Great chippers. Even to do what he did against Berkey was just ridiculous.
Oh, absolute... top binnage. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, the guy, he's so talented, and I think I applaud him for doing it, and my heart sank when he scored, because I think I kind of knew then that Bayern, with the just constant, well-oiled machine that they are, they just seem to be able to grind it out. I mean, Dortmund as we said, we're going to get onto the second half, but my overall thought is Berkey should be doing better with that. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it, but I think he's got to do better for me. I'm
going to be careful what I say, mate, because if I say anything about goalkeeper, I know Jack will be down my throat. So Berkey should be doing a lot better than what he did. Like you said, he pulled some outstanding saves off, he did, but he has to be doing better with that goal. Even like punch over the bar, anything.
Yeah, do anything apart from what he tried to do, basically.
Berkey, I think Berkey might have cost Dortmund the league. I mean,
possibly. I don't. I think it's a little bit harsh to look at it like that. It's probably true. In the grand scheme of things, it is probably true. With 7 points being between the teams now, but I think that with the way that Dortmund was going in the first half, I think that goal just before half time really knocked the stuffing out of them. It's a great time to score if you're the opposition, because you go in and you've landed a blow before half time, haven't you? I just think he's got to do better there, and it was a shame that that's the goal that won the game in the end. Obviously, we are going to cover bits of what happened in the second half, but essentially that did turn out to cost Dortmund in the end.
Let's go on to the second half then, mate.
Yeah, I mean, 2 substitutions at half time. Jadon Sancho replacing Julian Brandt and Emre Can coming on for Thomas Delaney.
Who come off for Hummels? I must have missed that. Who come off for
Hummels? I think Hummels came off a bit later.
Did he?
I'm sure he did. Because I know that Emre Can came on for Thomas Delaney in centre midfield, and Sancho came on for Brandt. And I know Hummels got brought off. I'll have to double check that who replaced him, but Thomas Delaney, as we mentioned before, I thought he had a really...
Axel Witsel, that's who it was.
Yes, Witsel came on for Hummels, didn't he? Thomas Delaney, I think, can count himself really unlucky because he had a really solid first half. I noticed as well that when Sancho came on at half time, he took up a more central role, whereas he usually operates off either wing, because I noticed that Guerrero likes to stay wide left and then make the runs inside the fullback. And it was Hakimi that was doing the same on the other wing, so Sancho kind of went more central. I'm not sure if that worked, to be quite honest with you.
I agree, mate. I don't think it worked at all. Hakimi, that game on Tuesday night, I didn't think he was his best. No. What he has been for the past 2 weeks.
I think when you look at the opposition that Dortmund have been playing in the last few weeks, and yes, they've done well. They scored 4 against Schalke. They beat Wolfsburg 2-0. Bayern Munich is a step up from everybody in that league. You've got to be on your game constantly. One mistake and they'll punish you.
It'll cost you.
In the end, the mistake did cost them, although not through any of the outfield players. But I didn't think the Sancho playing in the centre, I didn't think that worked. I think he looked like... And you would have thought with him playing in the centre of the pitch that he'd have got a bit more involved, but he looked so passive. There's something not right there. I know we said this together, didn't we? That there's something not right with the Sancho thing. I can't put my finger on it. He just doesn't look the same player.
There's something going on behind closed doors.
I think so.
I think he could be on his way out of Dortmund. I think he could be on his way to the Premier League, mate. But that's my opinion.
I mean, we'll wait to see what happens with that. But
yeah, let's just go on to Erling Haaland as well, mate. 18 touches in the first half, one shot on target.
Not good enough.
No, it wasn't.
Not good enough.
Unfortunately, he did come off injured, which...
Do you want to know the difference, right? And I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. I picked up a difference straight away. Now, you look at the influence that Lewandowski has on the game compared to the influence that Erling Haaland has on the game. There's your two polar opposites there. Lewandowski's world-class, Haaland's aspiring to be world-class. If Haaland does want to reach that level, he's going to have to start being a bit more involved in the game. I mean, sometimes his first touch, it's like a trampoline, man. I love the kid, I think he's brilliant, but sometimes his touch, it's like a trampoline.
I think with Erling Haaland, mate, I don't think he gets the right balls in, or he just don't get the right service, I don't think, sometimes. And when you've got a striker that's like 6 foot, whatever he is, you need to be putting him on his head or something, because he's so isolated up there on his own.
He did look very isolated. I think he's quite quick as well, so if he wanted to, he could run the channels. Like a bit like what Yusuf Poulsen does for Leipzig. Kind of. I mean, he's not going to be that player, but I think he's quick enough to run the channels like Poulsen does. I just think he looks like he struggles to get into the game a little bit. I mean, the kid was such a whirlwind when he came on the scene. I mean, he scored all them goals for RB Salzburg. He scored all these goals in Germany when he first came in his first 10 games, but he just looks a little bit like he's lost a little bit of confidence, like he's lacking something. I don't think the way Dortmund play helps him in a sense, because I think that because they only play with one striker. I mean, they did last season with Alcacer when he was in on loan. They play the same system, but Alcacer seemed to fit a little bit better into the team. He seemed to link it a little bit better. I think Haaland, because he's so goals driven, sometimes I think he's going to... I mean, Boateng and who else? Alaba marshalled him very well. I think they played him very well. It was a bit of a shame to see him come off injured. I'd like to have seen him at least have one chance at goal. I know he did have a chance at goal in the second half. We'll get on to that in a minute, but to be honest, there was a few chances for either side. I noticed Bayern got in down the right-hand side of the pitch quite early on in the second half. Kingsley Coman overhitting the cross when Lewandowski was waiting for a tap-in. Erling Haaland actually had a great chance. Now, this is what I wanted to cover with you. Haaland receives the ball. He takes one touch with his left foot and tries to hit it into the far corner past Neuer.
Yes.
Right? Now, when you see the replay, Boateng goes to ground and the ball actually hits the top of his arm. I'm surprised they didn't make more of that.
I'm surprised they didn't go to VAR for it.
I am. But the thing is, I think it was because nobody from Dortmund actually shouted for it, did they?
No.
Nobody actually called for a penalty, which I really couldn't understand. Because if that was me, I'll be honest, with this VAR system in now, I'd be screaming. I'd be thinking, you've got a chance of getting a penalty here. I would try and make more of it. But I thought it looked like a penalty to me. Maybe I'm clutching at straws. Maybe it's my heart speaking and not my head. But yeah, I thought they could have made a little bit more of that, because Boateng, I mean, if you're down on the ground, your arm's going to be out anyway, unnatural position. Look, anybody that's got any comments about that, leave them in the comment section, because I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts. I actually thought it was a penalty, but obviously turning out not to be. Again, we mentioned Haaland looked very isolated at times. They struggled to get into the game at most points, especially in the first half. I know he had a few chances, but he didn't look involved really too much. So I thought anyway, but he eventually came off with an injury after 71 minutes, and Giovanni Reina came on for him, son of Claudio Reina. He used to play for Manchester City.
He did.
Back in the day.
I still think that they need a backup striker, Dortmund.
Well, I think that was going to be my next point. You've literally took the words right out of my mouth. That, for me, would be my next protocol. All right, play Erling Haaland as your top centre-forward, but you're going to need someone to back him up, because Dortmund cannot play with a false nine. They need a focal point, a striker. They're going to need someone that can kind of chip in with a fewer seasons as well as Haaland, because they're going to struggle next year if they don't have any backup for him. It was the same last year with Alcacer, though.
Great player, Paco.
Yeah, good player. I'm surprised they didn't get him on a permanent, but they obviously looked at Erling Haaland really and kind of just went from there. But Bayern also making a sub in the second half. Ivan Perisic replacing Kingsley Coman. I can understand this one because Kingsley Coman, his injury record and his fitness can be called into question sometimes. No one can call into question how quick he is. He's rapid. But I think his fitness, sometimes I think he lets himself down a little bit. They did actually bring Perisic on for him, which I thought was a good sub actually. Perisic, former Dortmund player from back in the day. I remember him scoring in the Champions League against Arsenal for Dortmund. Good player to bring off the bench really. Got legs. Good at whipping in crosses. Good at getting in on the back stick for crosses off from the other side. Thought that was a good substitution to make really. It kind of forced Dortmund's hand a little bit. The game kind of went a bit scrappy in the second half. A few late challenges with yellow cards for Mo Dahoud and Alphonso Davies. Dortmund actually made another sub with Goetze coming on for Piszczek, so that obviously meant a change of shape then for Dortmund. I know you texted me straight away and said that's definitely a change of shape. They're going to go for it now. Dahoud, to be fair to him, I thought he had an alright game Tuesday night. He had quite a few shots on goal actually. Easy saves really for Neuer, but I think it was the fact he was getting into them positions to shoot. I was quite impressed with Mo Dahoud. I thought he looked up to the pace, whereas on Saturday he looked a bit off it, to be honest. Bayern making some more subs. Boateng actually coming off and Theo Hernandez coming on. Another good young player, French international. I think he's one for the future with Bayern. I think I can see him keeping him for the long haul. I think he's a really good signing. Witsel coming on for Mo Dahoud in the end.
Oh, Mo Dahoud. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the Hummels one up actually. I can't remember who actually, because you're allowed 5 subs, aren't you? So I can't remember who come on for Hummels. Bayern making a sub late on with Javi Martinez, defensive stalwart, can play centre-half, centre midfield. So as soon as Hansi Flick bought Martinez on, I thought that's it, they're shutting up shop now because they took Gnabry off.
That was it, they took Gnabry off, that was
it. So they replaced a winger with a defensive midfielder. So I think that said everything about where the game was going, really, especially late on. I mean, you can understand why teams do it. It's to shut up shop, isn't it, and keep your lead. I don't know what you thought about this, but I'll bring it up. 3 minutes added on at the end of the game. Do you think it should have been a little bit more for all the substitutions and stoppages there was? I don't know if I'm making a mountain out of a molehill.
Maybe another minute, but I think 3 minutes was just about right, mate, I think.
I just thought with the amount of substitutions they made, I mean, each team made between 3 and 5 subs, so you think, you're looking at 10, 30 seconds there for each one of them, plus the free kicks, yellow cards, corners, etc. I don't know if I'm clutching at straws there, but I think it should have been a little bit more. I would probably say 4 or 5 minutes, but
maybe 4 minutes, but
unfortunately, mate, we've got to cover this a little bit. The league's looking more and more like Bayern Munich now, isn't it?
Unfortunately, mate, yes it is, because I can't see Bayern Munich dropping points.
That's exactly the point, though, isn't it? It's not that I don't think Dortmund could claw it back. But I can't see Bayern dropping points.
It's where they're going to drop points.
Yeah, I can't see it. I'll be honest. I can't see it. I think that Munich are just going to be too strong at this stage. Really disappointing for Dortmund at home. I expected a little bit more. I expected them to at least score, but when you come up against a team like Bayern Munich, you're always going to find it difficult, and they're just going like a train, aren't they? They really are. They're just powering home now. I think that's the league gone. It's a real shame. But I think Dortmund, they're going to have to learn some lessons next year. They're going to really have to develop a proper spine for the team and really decide which way they want to go. But to kind of wrap that game up, I think it's Bayern Munich's league now. And just a quick question, just to kind of end that. I don't know. I guess we'll come back to you later on in the podcast. But who's going to be good enough to topple them and stop the trend of Bayern Munich winning leagues? 114 out of the last 20.
Maybe Leipzig. Maybe. Maybe at push.
I don't know. I think what I want to do with that, because we're going to be covering the Bundesliga obviously again next weekend. I want you to think about that. and on later podcasts, I want you to get back to me, because I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and I really don't know the answer.
It's tough, mate. Depending on next season, because if Leipzig can keep hold of Werner, Poulsen, players like that, Meccano, if they can keep hold of players like that, I think Leipzig are a team to watch next season.
I do believe that, but
I just can't see them keeping on the Timo Werner next season. Timo Werner is going to be in the Premier League next season. I can guarantee that.
Well, it's looking increasingly more likely, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Let's move on then.
Yeah, moving on to one of the 7:30 kickoffs: Werder Bremen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Not really a lot to talk about this game.
No, there wasn't. Apart from the fact there was 3 yellow cards, and
was there a red in this game?
No.
Oh, right.
There was 4 substitutions for Mönchengladbach and 3 for Werder Bremen, and I think that's about all the talking points that we've got for that one.
And the final score was
0-0. As Match of the Day would call it, a ball draw.
Ball draw, yeah.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I would love to be able to come up with things to talk about in this game, but apart from the fact that each team made at least 3 subs is about all I can talk about with that one.
Just two poor teams in poor form at this minute in time.
Well, Mönchengladbach, to be fair, I mean, I know they got beat last time out, but you'd expect him to do a little bit better, wouldn't you? I mean, if you look at the possession stats, with Mönchengladbach having 54% of the ball, I would have said with Bremen, the position they're in, you'd expect Borussia to have a little bit more of the game, wouldn't you? I mean, to be fair to Werder Bremen, they actually had 12 attempts at goal. So that suggests to you, really, compared to Mönchengladbach's kind of stats. Look, I don't like going off stats all the time, but I think it does tell a little story of the game. Werder Bremen, to be honest, they could have nicked that game. And if Werder Bremen win, that's a huge, huge result for Bremen. Especially at home to Mönchengladbach, who, let's be honest, the way they've been playing this season, you wouldn't expect them to get a point out of that game, considering the form of the two sides, you know, when you compare them together. I'm actually quite surprised Bremen didn't nick that, really. Mönchengladbach, they kind of... I think because they were so into the title race, they've kind of hit a little bit of a blip now. They've kind of hit a brick wall, because they lost last time out. They drew last Tuesday night to Werder Bremen. I think that's their league hopes gone for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to tell you different. I just can't see it. I still think Mönchengladbach, if they can keep the players they've got, will be all right next year. I think they'll get top 4. I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see with that. Moving on to the next 7:30 kickoff. This was a hell of a game, and I didn't expect this, to be honest. Eintracht Frankfurt 3, Freiburg 3.
Freiburg actually went 3-1 up.
Yes, they did. Vincenzo Grifo with the first goal for Freiburg just before the half-hour mark. 7 minutes later, Andre Silva equalising for Frankfurt. I actually rate Andre Silva. I'm quite surprised he went to Frankfurt. I know they was looking for a striker after Haller and Luka Jovic left. I'm actually quite surprised he went there.
Wasn't he at AC Milan?
He was at AC Milan. He was a Porto lad growing up.
Yeah.
I'm really, really surprised that he went to Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, fair play to the guy because he's looking to play first-team football. If they can keep him, they need to build the team around him next season rather than going with other people. I would suggest to Frankfurt, because they've struggled this year, if they base the team around Silva and get a strong spine to the team, I think they'll be all right. They have really struggled this year. Like you say, as you rightly mentioned, Freiburg went into a 3-1 lead with Niels Pettersson and Haller scoring to make it 3-1, and that was just around the 70-minute mark. The Japanese international Kamada, who got the goals, if you remember, when Frankfurt knocked Arsenal out.
Yep.
When they beat Arsenal in, I think it was in the group stage of the Europa League, wasn't it? Kamada scoring the second and Timothy Chandler getting a late equaliser in the last 10 minutes for Frankfurt. I think we can both agree here that was much, much needed. That equaliser could have saved them this year.
Definitely, mate.
That could prove to be huge. One thing I will say, I think it shows there's definitely fighting spirit in that team. I mean, I'm really surprised. I know Frankfurt have sold some of their kind of I wouldn't say big hitters, but they've sold some of their better players over the last couple of years. Haller and Jovic, just to name two of them. But when you look at the league table, we've mentioned this before, they do score a lot of goals, Frankfurt. I mean, they've got 44 this season, but they've conceded 52. Do you know what I mean? There's a couple of teams in the Bundesliga that have actually conceded more goals than they have, and I think that speaks volumes. They just can't keep clean sheets. I mean, Freiburg have had a good season this year, but to concede 3 at home to Freiburg, you'd think, I would say alarm bells would be ringing if it was me. Because you couldn't see any of the top teams conceding 3 at home to Freiburg. Well, I certainly couldn't anyway. I mean, I know I've been wrong predicting before, but yeah, Frankfurt, very poor season this year. I think they just want to see the back of this year and stay up, really. Freiburg kind of pushing for the last Europa League place. They're only 4 points off Wolfsburg. So that could be interesting come the end of if they can get to Europe, that'd be a great achievement for Freiburg, because they're a relatively small club really in Germany compared to the rest of them. I'd be interested to see what happens with that one. Moving on, guys.
Was this the last one?
This was the last Tuesday night game. It was the last 7:30 kickoff and the biggest result of the day.
This was a shocker.
Apart from Der Klassiker between Dortmund and Bayern, this was the biggest result for me. I've been wrong predicting before, and I'll probably be wrong again. I did not see this coming at all. I mean, Wolfsburg, of how average they looked against Dortmund, to go and score 4 away at Leverkusen, that is no mean feat, that.
Especially an informed Leverkusen as well.
Yeah, exactly. A Leverkusen that has won the last two games, they look good in winning them 2 games. I mean, they battered Mönchengladbach. You know, I think they deserve a hell of a lot of praise for how they've been playing, but my God, did Wolfsburg really turn up Tuesday night. Pogačić, the young centre-half playing for Wolfsburg, scored the first goal just before half-time, actually, in the 43rd minute. Brilliant time to score. I think that kind of knocked Leverkusen, because when you look at the rest of how the scoring trend went, Maximilian Arnold scored.
What a player.
Yeah, good player, good left foot. Scored halfway through the second half to make it 2-0, and then Renato Steffen scores a third 4 minutes later. Well, then you've gone from being 1-0 before half-time to halfway through the second half having a mountain to climb because you're 3-0 down at home. I mean, Wolfsburg did play some really good football, and Pogačić, the centre-half, actually scored another. He got a double Tuesday night and made it 4-0. That's game over then, you know. I know I've seen one. I think one of them was from a set piece, but they're expecting big things from Pogačić. I think, if I'm not wrong, he's 22 years old. I remember him saying it the other night. Actually played for Red Bull Salzburg last year, and he's been with him the last couple of years. Big things apparently to come from Pogačić. I think he'll be a regular for the Croatian national side, which is not easy to get into.
No, it's not, mate.
I'm expecting big things from him. Actually, he looked really good.
But yeah, that was a shock. That was a shock of the week or Tuesday's games.
Yeah, biggest shock for me. I know Baumgartlinger scored late on for Leverkusen to make it 4-1, but the damage had already been done then. Wolfsburg definitely not damaging their hopes of a Europa League place, putting 3 points between them and Hoffenheim. That's a big result for Wolfsburg and a bloody good performance, actually, to go with it. Right, guys, we're going to move on to Wednesday's games.
So last night's games.
Yeah, so the last midweek round was on Wednesday. There was actually 5 games. First game, and probably the shock result of the night, was the 5:30 kickoff between RB Leipzig and Hertha Berlin. I didn't see Hertha getting a draw. I know we said that they picked up form. I still didn't expect him to get a draw at Leipzig. To be honest with you, Hertha Berlin actually having a really, really good game last night. 13 shots at goal, 4 on target, 9 off target. If you're having 13 shots at goal away at Leipzig, you've had a fairly decent game. I mean, to be fair, Hertha Berlin, since I think it's Bruno Labbadia who's in charge now. Yeah, it's Bruno Labbadia. He knows how to organise a team to get them playing well. I've watched him before in German football. I think he was at Wolfsburg at one point, did a good job at Wolfsburg. before ultimately getting the sack, which really confused me because it would look like it was actually heading places. But yeah, big result for Hertha Berlin. RB Leipzig flattering to deceive again.
Could have gone second last night with a win.
1 draw, 5-0 win, draw. That's how their last 3 games has gone, and that effectively has ended their. If they win them 3 games, they're right in the hunt for the league.
Well, they were top of the
Drawn
league.
too many games, just in the space of 3. Sam, they've drawn 2.
They were top of the league. Back end of December.
Was it Christmas? Around Christmas time, wasn't it? Marco Grujic, former Liverpool player, opening the score for Hertha Berlin. Lucas Klosterman equalising. Klosterman, don't know your thoughts on him. He really impresses me, centre half, because Leipzig they can play a 3 at the back. To be fair, they're quite competent at playing a 4 or a 3. Klosterman, big player for Leipzig. A really strong footballer. I fancy him a Premier League team to come in for Klosterman. I think he's good enough. From what I hear, I think Tottenham was sniffing around him a little bit to try and get his signature. From what I heard,
Be a good signing for Tottenham.
yeah, they really would, mate, because they need to strengthen Tottenham. I think he'd be perfect for him. I really do. Into the second half, Halstenberg getting a red card for 2 yellows. So a culmination of 2 yellow cards. Yes, all right, Leipzig scored after they had Halstenberg sent off, but you're really giving yourself a mountain to climb, aren't you?
You are, mate.
When you have a man sent off, especially when it's 1-1.
It's tough when you've got down to 10 men as it is.
Yeah, it is, mate. Patrick Schick scoring 5 minutes after Halstenberg got sent off. Patrick Schick, another very underrated footballer. I've watched him for the Czech Republic. I've watched him for Leipzig. I watched him for Roma, although he didn't play much. Very useful footballer. All left-footed, quite skillful, quite quick, strong, good in the air. Good player for Leipzig. And I'm really surprised that a Premier League team hasn't come calling for shit, because I think he's exactly the kind of player that a Premier League side would love. You know, he's got a bit of everything. If you get a chance, I would go check up some of the stuff that he does, because I tell you, he's a really handy footballer. Kamil Piontek scoring late on with a penalty. Big signing from AC Milan after scoring a lot of goals in the first half of the season in Italy the other year. Big signing for Hertha Berlin. I think they paid a lot. I think it was 15-20 million euros they paid, which is a lot of money for that football club.
Good player is.
Yeah, he is. He's a proper centre forward.
Still don't understand why he moved from Milan to Hertha. It's a bit of a weird one.
He wanted first team football, mate. He wasn't. I mean, I watched a bit of the Italian league, and he wasn't getting a regular spot at. And I think what he'd done at, I want to say Genoa. I'm sure it was Genoa that he was playing for when he scored a lot of goals in the first half of the season. AC Milan take a gamble on him. They buy him, and he just didn't play. And when you're a player like that, you have to play football. He's a striker. You need confidence. And to score goals, you're going to need a bit of confidence or a bit of luck. One of the two. Piontek, good signing. Really Polish international. Very handy footballer. He actually scored a penalty in the last 10 minutes to make it 2-2, and that's how it finished. Overall, the best way I can describe that game and the best way I can round it up is 2 points dropped, big opportunity lost.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Moving on to the next game, which was one of the 7:30 kickoffs. FC Augsburg versus Paderborn.
Not this one, is there?
No. It's again, mate, it's just one of them games. The biggest talking point was 5 substitutions for Paderborn and 5 for Augsburg. I think that's the best we can round that up. Just to quickly run over the stats, Augsburg had 53% of the ball with 12 attempts on goal and only 3 on target. That just says everything, doesn't it, really? A distinct lack of quality in that game. I actually think Augsburg are a handier team than they let on, really, last night. They're actually better than that, to be honest. Paderborn, I expected them. I can't remember what I predicted for this game, but I know I didn't say a Paderborn win. I just can't say. Again, 15 shots on goal for Paderborn, only 3 on target. Again, another reason why they're struggling at the bottom of the league. They just do not have the quality.
To be honest, I thought Augsburg might have nicked even a goal in this game, but it ended up finishing 0-0, and like we said, a boring game, to be honest. Not the most.
Not great. I I actually watched a fair bit of that game, and it was one of them. And I mean this as respectfully as I can. I wish I didn't. Quite a fair lack of quality in the game, really, which resulted in it finishing 0-0. Augsburg, as a result of that 0-0 draw, they sit in 12th place still. Paderborn, rock bottom of the league, 19 points. I think that kind of tells you all you need to know. Moving on to the next one for the 7:30 kickoffs. Fortuna Dusseldorf 2, Schalke 04 1.
You know what gets me about this result? Schalke went 1-0 up.
Yeah, Weston McKennie, American international, with the first goal just as the second half started. Schalke are just a poor team, aren't they? That's 3 games on the bounce they've lost now.
I said to him, I said they need to get a result against Dusseldorf, otherwise Wagner's literally on.
He's on thin ice, isn't he? Yeah. He is on thin ice, isn't he?
I think that result has really hit
I think it's quite sad as well, Sam, because I looked at Wagner, the job that he did at Huddersfield Town to get that... not just the club, to get that team that he had promoted from the Premier League, with a minus goal difference, I might add, to get them promoted, but to just... I don't know. There's something not right at Schalke.
Especially Dusseldorf as well, who are bottom of the league. There's just...
Well, Dusseldorf, like you say, they're fighting right at the bottom of the league. They're in 16th place. They've now gone 5 points above Werder Bremen, but Werder Bremen have got to play yet. But their game in hand is...
next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday. That's when their game in hand is. Dusseldorf... by all accounts, they're not the best of teams, but you'd still expect Schalke to go there and get a result. To take the lead and then to concede 2 goals. Ruven Hennings, veteran centre forward for Dusseldorf, got weighed him, I think it's 12 goals this year, and Karaman getting the goals for Dusseldorf. Have been a brilliant result for Dusseldorf. You've got to hand it to them. They got the result. They've turned up. They've beat Schalke 2-1. Schalke, what else can we say apart from how poor they actually look at the minute? They look like they're a team in freefall.
Yeah,
that's the last 2 podcasts we've said that. And nothing seems to change with Schalke. They've got no focal point up front who's going to get goals for them. They're struggling for creativity. They've scored 1 goal in 3 games. That's for a club like the size of Schalke, is not good enough.
Shocking.
It's not good enough at all.
It's not good enough.
Dusseldorf with a brilliant win, but Schalke, worrying times.
Great 3 points for them.
Moving on to the next of the 7:30 games. Hoffenheim 3, FC Cologne 1. The game really hinged this one. One of our mates of the podcast, Adam Oliver, actually messaged me. I told you, didn't I? He messaged me asking what game he should watch. And I actually said the Hoffenheim-Cologne game because I felt that was the game that would give goals and it would give action. And to be fair, one of the only times this year I've actually been right. Baumgartner scoring the opening goal for Hoffenheim, and then 15 minutes later, Cologne get a red card. So, you're fighting an uphill battle there if you're Cologne straight away because you're 1-0 down, you've had a man sent off. Into the second half, the game was over. Within 5 minutes of the second half starting, Baumgartner getting another, and Steven Zuber getting another goal for Hoffenheim, so that just finishes the game. To be fair to Cologne, they actually missed a penalty as well after they scored their first goal through Kainz.
Quite a shocking penalty.
Markout, it was terrible. Markout actually missing the penalty. So you think they might have had a chance if they score that penalty and get back to 3-2, Hoffenheim, squeaky bum time at the end. You'd think that they might be able to get a result from that. It proved otherwise. Hoffenheim, with a win, they're kind of keeping up with the Europa League places. They're chasing Wolfsburg and they're only 3 points behind them. The only thing I'd say with Hoffenheim, when you look at their goal difference, is -9 compared to Wolfsburg, who sit on +6. So you look at the contrast of the 2 teams there that are fighting for the same position. You'd say Wolfsburg have probably been the better all season, but there's only 3 points between them. So Hoffenheim have still got a chance of getting into Europe, really. FC Cologne, the mid-table, the 7 points above the drop zone. I think they're going to be all right, though. I think Cologne are one of them teams that are going to be all right this year.
They're not ones that they're not in an awful form. They're just
no, they're just one of them teams, aren't they? The kind of, if they have a mediocre season, that's good for them because they've not gone down. So to me, anything is a positive, really.
Just a better team won on the night.
Yeah, there was a better team. Hoffenheim getting a good win there, 3-1. To be fair, they actually both had a man sent off. Hubner got sent off just after half-time, but the door was already 3-0 up then. And obviously, with Cologne having a man sent off in the first half, it kind of evened the game up. But I think the game was already gone by then, really.
Yeah. One more game, mate.
Yeah, just one more game to cover of the Wednesday night games. 7:30 kick-off, Union Berlin versus Mainz. This game, I think we'd mentioned it in the previous podcast. This game was actually very important, and not for the team that you'd think it was. You would have thought at the start of the season that Union Berlin would have struggled this year. To be honest, it's actually proved anything but. It's Mainz that have struggled. Yeah. And I actually think this is a good point for Mainz, because Union Berlin, in front of fans or not, they're a very, very strong side at home. The coach has really drilled into them a strong defensive unit, like a strong, tight-knit unit that keeps a fair few clean sheets, and I know they did in the first half of the season.
Sorry about Mr. Ice Cream Man, he just wanted to be a bit noisy in the podcast.
Yeah, Angelo was outside wanting to get in on the act.
Get in the podcast.
He stuck his head through the window and asked if he can get in on it, but I said no.
Sorry, back to that.
Yeah, anyway, bit of humour out the way. Mainz, very good draw. Much needed as well, especially after they played against Leipzig.
Yeah, this is the game I got right. This is the correct score
yes,
I got right.
This is the 1 point that Sam's got over everybody else this year was calling this game a draw. Well done to Sam for calling it.
I just couldn't see it being a high-end scoring game.
Well, it's not. It's between two teams that don't necessarily score a lot of goals, but they don't defend well either. I think a 1-1 draw was a reasonable result, really, to call. Proved to be that way. Baku opening the scoring for Mainz in the 13th minute before Inga Vartson scored after 33 minutes. A game with another red card. So, just on Wednesday night's games alone, there was 4 red cards. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's quite poor, really. There was no red cards on Tuesday night. But they seem to make up for it on Wednesday night. 4 red cards.
Must be a Wednesday thing.
Yeah, it must be. I don't know. It's Hump Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah. Hump Wednesday. Yeah, quite strange, really. Union Berlin having a man sent off, Andrik sent off for Union Berlin. I think Union Berlin will be all right, but they still need to pick up a few points between now and the end of the season. Mainz are bang in trouble. I'd love to see Mainz stay up. I think they're quite a good club. They're well run. They tend to give chances to a lot of the youth players that they have. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if Mainz went down, but they do need to start picking up points fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think they'll stay up anyway. I haven't got too much.
I hope so. I really hope so. Because I do like Mainz, to be fair, as a football club. I'd like to see them stay up, really, to have another crack at it next year. So, guys, that has finished the midweek roundup of the Bundesliga.
Right.
Now we're going to go into score predictions for the weekend.
Yep, so we'll start off with Friday's game. Freiburg versus Leverkusen. You said Freiburg 0, Leverkusen 2.
Yeah, I fancy Leverkusen to bounce back after a disappointing result at home to Wolfsburg.
Yeah, I went with 2-1 Leverkusen. I think there'll be a few goals in this.
Is that
game,
7:30 kick-off, by the way, Friday?
Yes, it is. I think.
I want to give the viewers the right information. Yeah, it's a 7:30 kick-off. Freiburg Leverkusen on Friday. Moving on to Saturday's games. First, there's 4 2:30 kick-offs.
So we'll start off with Hertha Berlin versus Augsburg. You went 2-1 Hertha Berlin.
Yeah.
I went 1-1 in this one. I think this will be a draw. I do.
Yeah, I can see why you'd call it a draw, though. I think, to be honest, if I was going to sway anyway, I'd go the way that you've gone, really, with a draw. I know I put a Hertha win, because I think Hertha have picked up some decent form, but a draw looks a reasonable result in that game, to be honest.
Yeah. Next one, Schalke versus Werder Bremen. You said 1-0 Schalke. I said 1-1. So I've gone for another draw.
What did we mention for the Mainz-Hoffenheim game?
I'm going to go back onto that in a minute.
Okay.
But, you said 1-0 Schalke. I went 1-1 with this one. I just think 2 poor teams. Schalke especially.
Yeah.
But we won't get on back on Schalke because I'm sick of hearing about Schalke all the time. So every podcast we mention about Schalke in bad form. There's nothing good to say about Schalke, and I'm sorry if we're offending any Schalke fans, but
there isn't a lot to shout about, is there?
No, it's just the way it is. Going back onto Mainz versus Hoffenheim. You went for a draw on this one. You said 1-1. I went with 2-0 Hoffenheim.
I can see why you'd go that way though, with Mainz being very, very leaky at the back. Don't keep too many clean sheets. Hoffenheim getting a good result really.
Yep.
In midweek.
Next one, Wolfsburg versus Frankfurt. You said 2-0 Wolfsburg. Mm-hmm. I went 2-1 Wolfsburg. I think Frankfurt will score.
I can see why you'd go. I mean, I just went because Frankfurt can't seem to keep a clean sheet, but they do score goals. Now, I know that I'd suggest that Frankfurt would score, but I think Wolfsburg at home, they're quite strong. I know they lost to Dortmund, but I think teams can be excused for losing at home to Borussia Dortmund. So,
yeah, definitely. Next game, mate. Bayern Munich versus Dusseldorf.
Christ almighty.
You said 3-0 Bayern. I went 4-0 Bayern. This could be a cricket score.
It could be. I'd get the stumps out and get your cricket pads on if I were you. I can see that being a one-sided affair. I think that could be a little bit of an understatement.
Get your beers out, get everything out, because you're going to need it for that game. And if I'm wrong, then...
If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words.
I'll eat my words, but I just can't see Dusseldorf.
God, can you imagine Dusseldorf turning up and turning Bayern Munich over?
Oh, I couldn't imagine it, man. I couldn't imagine it.
Scenes.
Sunday's games then. We've got two for Sunday. We've got Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Union Berlin.
I like that. I like it.
Thank you. You went 3-1 Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah.
I said 2-2 in this one.
It's a bold prediction, mate. I'll tell you, if that comes in for you, that's a good point, isn't there? Because
another point.
You've got to be a brave man to back Union Berlin getting 2 goals at Mönchengladbach, although it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Anything can happen.
Anything
can
happen.
Anyway, at least stop doing that because we'll get done for copyright. Anyway, last game on Sunday. Paderborn versus Dortmund. You said 2-0 Dortmund. I went 3-0 Dortmund.
I think Dortmund need to put the result on Tuesday night behind them. Yep, they need to start well against Paderborn, get an early goal, and I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, they do, mate. They do. And the last game...
The last game to finish off the weekend.
Cologne versus Red Bull Leipzig. You went 2-1 Leipzig. I also went 2-1 Leipzig. The only game we actually...
Yeah, Leipzig, very good performance away from home in the last time out against Mainz. Away from home, they played really well, won 5-0. It could have been 10. Cologne, to be fair, they're quite strong at home. The Rhine Energy Stadion is a bit of a fortress for Cologne. I don't think many teams enjoy going there. But, yeah, I can see Leipzig winning that one.
Yep, same. Let's go on to the Bundesliga table then, mate.
Yeah, we'll just quickly round up the Bundesliga table as we're going to start doing at the end of every podcast. Bayern Munich sitting first on 64 points. In second, Borussia Dortmund, 57 points. In third, RB Leipzig with 55 points. In fourth, you've got Borussia Mönchengladbach with 53 points. In fifth place is Bayer Leverkusen on 53 points. In sixth, you've got Wolfsburg on 42. In seventh, you've got Hoffenheim with 39. In eighth, you've got Freiburg with 38 points. And in ninth, you've got Schalke 04 on 37 points. In 10th, Hertha Berlin on 35. 11th, you've got FC Cologne on 34 points. In 12th, FC Augsburg on 31. 13th, Union Berlin on 31 points also. In 14th place, Eintracht Frankfurt on 29 points. In 15th, you've got Mainz on 28 points. 16th place, Fortuna Düsseldorf on 27 points. In 17th, Werder Bremen on 22 points. And to prop up the table, Paderborn on 19 points.
So that's the Bundesliga table, guys. Just want to do a massive shout out to everyone that's gave us feedback on this podcast.
Yeah, it is very, very much appreciated.
Yeah,
we love the feedback we've been getting.
Yeah, thank you very much to everyone that's messaged us about this podcast. We really are enjoying it. We are.
It inspires us to do more.
Yeah, it does. We've had so much feedback. It's been mad.
Yeah, very, very humbling actually. The feedback we've got so far. I want to go on record as saying that because we are truly grateful to the people that take the time out of the day to give us feedback, because in today's society it can be easily overlooked when people are trying to do things like this. So we do appreciate each and every single person that gets in touch, whether that be Facebook, through YouTube, comments, likes, subscribes, everything. It all means the world to us, guys, and it definitely inspires us to do more, which is what we love doing. And what I love doing is talking the back legs off a donkey, so which I can do fairly well. Oh, yeah. So, cheers, Sam.
Hopefully, guys, we can get once the Liga Santander returns, we'll be doing more. This is going to be a regular thing. We're going to do one European podcast, and then we're going to do the Premier League one as well. So we're still going to do it on this channel, but we're just going to try and get 2 out a day, maybe.
Yeah,
we're still having talks about it, but
I think the message that I really want to give to the listeners is, we're going to keep the content. It's just going to keep bam, bam,
keep
bam.
Rolling.
Yeah, keep rolling with it. The content's going to keep coming. We've got some big plans for the podcast. Really good ideas. Some that Sam's come up with, some that I've come up with. We're going to bang our heads together and get some really, really good content out there, guys. It's all thanks to you, really. It's all thanks to the listeners that give us, we've got a platform in a podcast to speak on, but it requires people to give you feedback. Could you do this better? Could you do anything is appreciated, guys. Honestly, we don't overlook anything. Any feedback that anybody gives us, it's all good to us. It's all good vibes, all positive.
Just means a lot, guys. It really does. We're just so grateful, especially in times like we are in at this minute in time. It really does mean a lot to us.
Yeah, it does. I think Sam's definitely right in what he says there, that we are so grateful for everything that we've been given so far. And we're going to keep delivering. Bam, bam, bam. Keep delivering the good content, good vibes, positivity. Love the football, and we love to talk about it, so why not?
Anything else to add, mate?
Nope, I think we can wrap that up.
Yep. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. It really does mean a lot for you to take the time out of your day, just listen to us for an hour going on about football.
Yeah, me blabbing on as usual.
Yeah, so if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Leave a like, share this on Facebook, share it around everywhere. We're trying to get it out everywhere. Leave a comment down below for your score predictions for the weekend. And on that note, I think that's it, mate.
Yeah. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah, so thank you for everyone for listening, and peace out.
Yeah, peace. Auf Wiedersehen.